Hello, YouTube. Hello, YouTube. How are we doing? Jordan, say hello to the people.
Hello, people. Sorry, I'm just getting it pulled up right now, so I'm ready to go.
I hope that we are doing well. Let me send out the last of the thingies, what's it called? The alerts, so people know what they're to come see us. Okay. Jordan, I hope you're doing well. YouTube, nice to see you. Thanks for jumping in here. We're live on YouTube right now. YouTube.com/Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. We have Jordan. We do not have Adam. He's too partying after his big win last week.
Getting the big dub. Yeah, he doesn't have time for small time people like
for
that.
us small time people.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh goodness. All right, Jordan. Do you want to start the episode and we can?
Yeah.
I can hit you with the questions. I got a question for you. Okay. Welcome back to the Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. We're here to help you take the next step in your fantasy journey. My name is Jake, and I am once again joined by my friend Jordan. Jordan, how you doing?
Great. Ready to go.
For anyone who is live on YouTube right now, we're live on YouTube at youtube.com/Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. Come in here, join the chat. It's fun. If you are listening live with us, or if you're listening later on wherever you listen to your podcast, Jordan sounds great. He's got a new microphone. He's got a new camera.
Yeah.
He is just moving on up. He bought a new microphone. I said, you should have bought 3.
for the whole squad. Yeah, sorry.
When are we gonna? Yeah, for the squad. Katie did 90210. Very nice name. May I add? That's my beautiful wife, and it's just hilarious that that's her thing.
90210.
Yes. My son Oliver says hi. He's watching downstairs. So hello, Oliver. He says wave. She says wave to your son. Oliver, hello, man. Good job today. He had a good day at school. He was the man.
I love when Oliver listens to the podcast.
I love when Oliver listens to the podcast as well. I like it. It's the only time my wife ever joins in and says hi, and she's probably already turned it off now. John says, Denver, what happened? Ah, ha, 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 ha. Yes, we'll talk about that in a minute. And Megan jumps in here and says, hey, when are we going to have some merch? That is in the works. That's what I'll say.
Megan, the graphics department is aware of this request.
Yes.
We've taken it into consideration.
We've been trying to figure out the best way to go about that, because we tried, 6 months ago probably?
Yep.
And probably maybe even longer, and it was just way too expensive. So we're trying to figure it out. I haven't told Jordan this yet, but I do have a coworker who has a heat press and makes her own shirts. So
we'll be in touch.
we might need to get
some
that
version. We should get some version 1.0s out.
So like I mentioned, we are live on YouTube, youtube.com/Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. If you're not following us on Facebook, make sure you do that there. Same name, Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. If you're here right now, ask your fantasy questions. We'll answer them as we go. We're missing Adam today. I don't know if I mentioned that yet on this side of it, but he's celebrating after his big win last week.
Yep, homecoming win. They rushed the field. I know. I don't know if anyone is super invested, but I just have to say they scored with 25 seconds left. I love
to win the game, and then proceeded to they were deflecting Hail Marys. It was chaos. It was awesome, and that's why you don't give up. You don't give up. And those kids were super excited. And Adam, I have a really nice video of Adam just going off. He's just pumping his fists, and it was awesome. It was awesome.
He is the ultimate hype man.
He is the ultimate hype man.
We are definitely missing that here on the podcast.
Yeah, we need him. We need him. And he will be back. Hopefully next week. If not, football season probably ends in a few weeks, and then he'll be back. Megan says, I'm dying with Ridley getting blocked in the red zone. I know. Terrible.
Man, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
I started Raheem and was very proud. Raheem Mostert scored 4 tutties last week. I went up against the guy who had him. Classic. And then not NFL, but Dame to the Bucks. Yes, Damian Lillard in the NBA went to the Bucks. We are Wisconsin people through and through here, so
repping the Bucks today.
It is a glorious thing.
Yeah.
So, Adam, Jordan, I got a question for you quickly before we get into things. Not fantasy related.
I was staring at DoorDash today, and I could not figure out what the heck to get for lunch, which then made me think of the question, top 3 cuisines. Go, Jordan.
Wow.
What are your top 3 cuisines? If you're live in the YouTube chat, I want to hear your top 3 as well. I'll let you think about it, and you can answer at the end of the pod like we did last time.
Okay, yeah.
For me, Mexican, number 3. I love American food. I love a good burger.
Just like burger
Just
and fries?
burger and fries.
Yeah, okay.
A bit of a cop-out. And number 1, Italian. Easily. You throw some pasta on it's my people. They're my people. I love a good fettuccine Alfredo. Even though that's not typically an Italian food. But
I was going to say, very authentic, Jake.
Some chicken and shrimp carbonara.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me hear you guys.
Unlimited soup salad and bread.
All right, I want to hear yours at the end. In the chat, let me hear yours as well, and let me hear your fantasy questions. So, Jordan, there is news. Why don't you start us out?
All right. Thank you so much, Adam, for counting me in.
I love that because when you watch on the YouTube side, if you don't know what we're talking about, it's just like, why do you stop and say that?
Yep, but if you listen on the podcast, then when it gets published out, it's put in there because
it's
the
in there.
Editing department, the Next Step editing department, really stepping up their game.
It's just too. Jordan is all the departments.
All right, so probably the most important NFL news that I have to share is that Taylor Swift went to the Kansas City Chiefs game.
Yes.
And sat in the box next to Mama Kelsey, and it just gave us all the content.
It just broke the internet.
Just broke everything. So Taylor Swift, she does whatever she wants. Everyone is wrapped around her finger. She shows up, insane ratings for that game against the Bears. Like the demographic of like 12 to like 25.
It was 26 million.
It was like the highest ever. I mean, just crazy. And then Travis Kelce's jersey sales boosted 400%.
400%.
I mean, that is awesome. I'm all about it. I'm watching like some of these like personalities that are like, let's just get back to football, and I say no. This is the entertainment I'm here for.
The Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast says, give us more Taylor Swift.
Yes, 100%. And if it makes Travis Kelce play better, he's trying to impress. I love that as a Travis Kelce.
Of course you do.
Yeah, So he's caught a touchdown. He caught a touchdown in the game. All right, so that's the most important news. We should all recognize that.
We might as well just stop. We might as well just stop the podcast now.
And that's the podcast. The second most important news, the Dolphins scored 70 points.
Bonkers.
Against the Denver Broncos, which I believe is the real reason Adam isn't here today.
Yes, he's in mourning.
For shame.
It's just a bad day for him.
So, Jake, the question is, if Tua stays healthy...
Yes, he wins MVP.
But are they winning the Super Bowl? Can anyone stop him?
My thought is if they get out of the AFC, they'll win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, okay. If they make it to the Super Bowl.
If they make it to the Super Bowl, they're going to win it. I think, Kansas City's a tough one. Who knows? I'm worried about Joe Burrow. I don't know if you were planning on talking about that at all.
Sure.
But I fantasy-wise love Josh Allen. I just don't know if he's quite there to get over the hump. Because with those turnovers, it's killer. Chief chimes in, checking in. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you jumping in here, my man. He is part of one of the Discords. So he has his own podcast. Go check him out. Click on his name if you're live right now. He's going to be going live soon here. So go check him out too.
All right, Jake, let me hit you with some other news.
Yeah.
Mike Williams, wide receiver for the Chargers, tore his ACL, done for the season.
Oh my God. It just stinks. This is how fantasy goes. We do this. I mean, Jordan, we're invested in fantasy football more than the average person, right?
Yes.
I mean, we put our time, we put money into this. Like it is, and you work so long, and like in our home league. And what do I get in 3 weeks? I get Mike Williams, Aaron Rodgers, and Cooper Kupp all on IR, and I'm 0-3. It's just brutal sometimes.
Yeah, that really stings. So if only we're in a dynasty league and someone owns Jake's first round draft pick, and that someone is me.
You're very sad, aren't you?
Yeah. Just a quick tangent here because I know everyone cares. In our home league, which is a dynasty, so every year we keep all the same players, so we trade draft picks in the future. I own Adam's first round draft pick and Jake's first round draft pick next year, and both of them are 0-3.
Yeah,
and
it's just the worst.
It's a good start of the year. All right, side note.
Other big news coming out of Jets camp, because they are always in chaos and turmoil.
Yes.
Trevor Siemian signs with the Jets. So he goes to the Jets. Robert Saleh says, quote unquote, Zach is our unquestioned quarterback, which we'll see.
2 weeks.
And then,
that's what I give it. 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. And then another interesting thing, too, is that kind of released on social media on Instagram was Colin Kaepernick sent a letter to Joe Douglas, the GM of the Jets, and was like, hey, I'll be your practice squad quarterback. And so
why not?
Something interesting to watch.
That's my thought. Why not? You're already a circus. Why not just, let's just add to it. Let's just go all in.
So, anyway, that's the Jets quarterback situation. So we'll keep an eye on that. But Zach Wilson has been struggling. I mean, it is just it's tough to watch.
There's not a chance. There's no way that he is your best opportunity to win.
No,
there's just no way.
No. Joe Burrow played Monday when it looked like he wasn't going to play, which was a surprise with the calf injury, and then he dropped back 50-something times. They just I don't understand.
They full send it. They were just
yeah. So they got the W. It's not stopping him from playing. He's going to keep playing. My worry is that he's going to end up with a season-ending injury. I mean, it's it seems like it's just too similar to Aaron Rodgers with I kind of have a calf injury in training camp. No big deal. Now I out for the rest of the year because of my Achilles.
Yeah, they're better. In my opinion, you'd be better off shutting him down for 4 weeks, and then you're trying to win a Super Bowl here.
Yeah.
And he's not going to heal properly. So I mean, I hate it. It sucks for fantasy because you're going to start Joe Burrow every time, right? But
he's not playing great.
He's not playing great, but you're going to start him because he's not. It's not like Justin Fields where you're I'm going to start him and he's just god awful.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I hope you listened to us last time because Jordan said sit Justin Fields.
Yeah. Did Jake listen to me?
No, and I'm not going to do it again this week. But, because this is a bad thing about, drafting a quarterback early, right? I have Justin Fields, Kenny Pickett, and Jimmy Garoppolo, and I can't. I debate whether or not to start Jimmy Garoppolo or Kenny Pickett. Which two of those three do you start, right?
Kenny Pickett, 10 times out of 10.
Oh yes, I start Kenny Pickett every time.
Yeah.
But then I'm do I really want Jimmy Garoppolo over Justin Fields? It's just the upside, and they let him run this past time. Let me interrupt you. Jeff, I'm not going to say your name because I don't know if kids listen, and because I know that Adams students sometimes listen. Just Jeff. Should I drop Roschon Johnson for Jalen Warren, Akers, Tutu, Tank Dell, or Quentin Johnson? Redraft, I'd say yes. Which one of those guys would you go for, though? Jordan, I assume you would agree with the drop. I would drop. Here's the thing: I would drop him for Quentin Johnson, especially with Mike Williams down. I will say I do think Josh Palmer is the guy to own right now in the short term.
Yes, I agree.
With him going out, I would drop him for Jalen Warren. He's pretty much in a 50-50 split. I probably wouldn't drop him for Akers quite yet.
Not yet. I agree.
Not yet. And then Tutu Atwell is in the short term. I would drop him for him, sure, but I don't know what that looks like with Cooper Kupp coming back as soon as next week, right? And then Tank Dell, I think he's definitely worth owning. I think that I would drop him for him as well, depending on if you're short at running back or short at receiver. What do you need? That's the question, right? If you need receivers, I'd go get Tank Dell and Quentin Johnson. Sure, if you need running backs, I'd do it for Warren. And then I'd probably wait on Akers personally.
Yeah. That's a good question, though. But yes, I would.
That's a tough one.
I would drop the player and pick up someone else.
Yeah, I would. But I mean, Roschon. But if you're good, I think Roschon Johnson's worth owning too. Yeah. It's just that whole offense is such a dumpster fire. I'd rather have pretty much all those other people.
Yep. All right, Jake, we got a little bit more news here.
Yeah.
Christian Watson could be back from his hammy injury, plays first game of the year for the Packers Thursday night.
He is expected to play, I believe.
He is expected to play, yep. Saquon Barkley considered day-to-day with a high ankle sprain, so it's actually looking better than it was last week, where they said maybe 3 weeks. So, again, somebody to keep an eye on. If he's playing, start him. No update on Bryce Young's ankle, so it might be the Andy Dalton show again. And Andy Dalton played
well.
great. They lost, but they played great. I mean, so keep an eye on that. Anthony Richardson still in the concussion protocol headed into week 4. So he's practicing limited, but they're pretty strict about that in the NFL. So if he can't play, he can't play. Derek Carr has shoulder injury is week to week, and he said, if they let me play, I'm playing. So last week against the Packers,
I would expect him not to play this week.
I agree.
AC joint, right? And I'm a big proponent of, just sit him for a week. If it's day to day, just sit him for a week. Let him come back next week. It'll be fine.
And Jameis is he's not great, but he's a good backup.
He's a competent backup. He's one of the best backups in the league, I would say.
So, also in Saints camp, Alvin Kamara is back practicing with the team after serving out his 3-game suspension, so he is likely a go for week 4. So keep an eye on that. He's the one to own now in that backfield. No one really took it over.
Do you think they ease him back in, or do you think that's straight full send?
That's a good question. I think if Derek Carr does not play, I would expect to see him more.
I think it's full send no matter what. This isn't a new. It's not a new offense.
And it's not.
Nothing's new here, right?
He's not coming back from injury.
And like you said, we were worried that Kendra Miller or Jamal Williams would take this back. They didn't do jack. So give it to Kamara. Let him do his thing.
Yeah. Jimmy G in the concussion protocol because he's always injured, Jake.
He's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. Other people, lots of other kind of minor injuries to look at. Patrick Mahomes had an ankle injury, things like that. It seems like none of them are going to hold any of them out. So keep an eye on we're recording on a Wednesday. Keep an eye on it Thursday into Friday to see if that changes. But it looks like everyone else is good to go.
Agreed. John says you guys talk about Taylor Swift and won't give an update on Jackson Mahomes. Okay.
I will not.
No. That guy does not deserve any of our time. No. That is my thought. There you go, John. We finally said it. He's been trying to get us to talk about Jackson Mahomes for 3 months. Yeah. There you go. We're not talking about him. Awesome. Jordan, you're always with the news. You're always on top of that stuff. Yeah. Something newsworthy, I'm going to say, Tank Bigsby stole a 1-yard touchdown from Travis Etienne last week. Yeah, hate that. Hate that.
Who owns Travis Etienne?
Last week was a weird week in fantasy football. Tank Bigsby stealing vulturing carries. The 2 running backs scored 4 touchdowns for the Dolphins. Derrick Henry had his worst NFL football game, which was 11 carries for 20 yards.
Yikes.
So, just a weird week.
Jake, here's a question, and maybe it gets into start sits here.
Yeah.
Do you start both Dolphins running backs?
No.
Do you start Mostert and A-Chain? No. Still just Mostert, right?
I would start Mostert. I think that we're going to look at that and we're going to say, oh my gosh, they're so startable now. They just scored 4 touchdowns. What that was a defense who lost any will to play.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That was, let's not get hurt out here and let's just get out of here. And what happened is there's giant holes and that's not going to happen again. Yeah. What I will say, I think it hurts Raheem Mostert a little because I think the A-Chain He made it clear it's Devon. It's not A-Chain. It's Achan, I believe.
Achan. Oh.
I want to say that there's a tweet out from Adam Schefter that he spells it out, clears it out. Anyways, I think we'll see more of a 50-50 split. I think throughout the rest of the year, though, I still think Mostert's the one to own right now. But I think A-Chain Achan will be the guy here soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why don't we get into the guys here? So for our Thursday night Top Gun, we're going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. Do you want to talk about him?
Yeah, I think Jahmyr Gibbs, so David Montgomery, I kind of alluded to earlier, there's kind of a lot of other players who have lingering injuries that we're just keeping an eye on. David Montgomery's one of them, so I still think he's a little banged up, even if he does play. But I still think Gibbs is going to continue to have a bigger role. They drafted him, first round running back. So I think it makes sense. We kind of predicted David Montgomery would have kind of the early season. Mm-hmm. He would kind of be the primary guy. and then the scales will start to shift a little bit. I think we're starting to see that now. Also, the Packers defense, rush defense is just terrible.
Yeah, it's not great right now.
Yeah, against like the Falcons, who kind of had a similar, like split, Tyler Algiers, David Montgomery, a little bit more that downhill runner, and then the more spread out receiving back, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. I mean, they torched the Packers defense 2 weeks ago. So, I'm not expecting Bijan Robinson level production out of Jahmyr Gibbs, but I definitely expect him to be involved this week.
Yeah, I think he can definitely hit. Like we mentioned with these guys, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're starting him, right? But like, I think he's definitely a guy that could definitely hit where his projected numbers, if not go over it, especially with a touchdown. Other guys we like this week too, Romeo Doubs, who's clearly the number one for the Green Bay Packers. And we like Jordan Love as well. Yards-wise, you're not getting it from him, but touchdown-wise, you are. And he showed the rushing ability with the scramble last week.
Little touchdown scramble, yeah. Let's see. I think I have a booklet around Jordan Love's rushing ability.
I believe I have a booklet from Jordan's Love rushing. I said 500 yards. I believe I said.
You said a lot. Yep. And I believe I had the opposite booklet because I felt so strongly he's not a rushing quarterback.
Well, I mean, he's not.
74 yards.
He's at 74. So we're getting there. If
he's 11th. He's 11th.
I'm just saying, if he were to hit like 400, I would not feel bad about getting it wrong. Just saying.
No, I know. Okay. I'll feel bad about taking that win.
But I'll take it. But I'll take it.
Yep.
All right, why don't we get into Sunday's start sit, guys? Before we get into this quickly, if you're listening, go ahead and drop those fantasy questions that you can think of. Drop them. We want to hear them. We want to answer some questions for you. And then we're live on YouTube right now, youtube.com/Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. We're also on Facebook at the Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. We hit 400 and I didn't shout it out last week, but we went over 400 people on there. So
hey yo,
and now we're pushing 425. So we're getting there.
I love it.
Love it. Do you? Oh, John asked if Carr doesn't get hurt. Do you think the Packers win last week? I'll say no.
No,
definitely. I don't. I think he sticks to the status quo there and just takes them into a victory. So I think losing your quarterback kind of is demoralizing in a 1 week thing.
Jets.
Yes, yeah, that was. I don't think I told you the story. So I was, big Aaron Rodgers guy. Have him in a bunch of leagues, just a bunch of leagues. I probably own like 6. I'm in, I think, 10 leagues, something like that. I had him in like 7 of them, 6 or 7 of them, and I literally watched him come out, hand the ball off the first play, and I stood up to grab something from the fridge. And I came back and he was sitting on the ground.
Oh, no.
No, it was just so sad. All right, let's talk about guys start sit. We're going to hit you with 2 or 3 or 4 guys here. I'll go first if I can. And that is with Zach Moss. I'm going to start Zach Moss this week. Coming off, he had 30 carries last week for 122 yards against the Ravens. Added 2 receptions as well for 23 yards. So he 145 yards total and a touchdown. He is the guy there that you just saw him hand him 30 times. It wasn't overtime, so that was inflated a little. But he 21 fantasy points in a half-point PPR base rushing league. Previous week against the Texans, he had 18. So he's went over his projections 2 weeks in a row. We're going up against the Rams, who are not a good defense. I mean, you got Aaron Donald, but that's
Aaron
it.
Donald and then the rest, yeah.
Yeah, so give me him. And I think this might be one of the last few weeks that he is relevant. I'll say that because who knows what Jonathan Taylor does. A report came out today that he still doesn't want to be there. He's going to report at some point. That's my thought. And once that happens, it'll be the Jonathan Taylor show. I think Zach Moss is a really good trade possibility right now. If there's a guy, if you can get rid of him and get I don't know what you could get rid of. Like a wide receiver 2, right? You probably can't get Amari Cooper, but I'm thinking like if you put Moss and Gabriel Davis together and try to get Cooper or something like that, I think that's where his value is right now because in 3 weeks, I don't think he'll have any value. So if you can trade him, do it. But if not, he's wide receiver. He's a running back 2. Running back 1 upside right now. So I'm starting him against the Rams this week, and I'm feeling really good about it.
Yeah, and they got rid of Deion Jackson too. They released him, and so I just think you're right. It's the Zach Moss show there. I'll kind of stay along the same lines of running backs, Jake, if you don't mind. And it's James Cook versus the Dolphins.
You're starting James Cook or sitting?
I'm starting James Cook.
I am. I've jumped on the James Cook bandwagon. It's quietly effective.
Yeah, so versus the Dolphins, so I think for a similar story, he's just taken over that backfield. Like, Damian Harris is there, but, like, James Cook is the one. He's gotten over 15 touches every single game this year so far. Heading into week 4, I expect there to be lots of points scored. James Cook's their receiving back as well. He's receiving upside. I think that the Bills are showing a much more balanced, just offensive strategy than just let Josh Allen run wild. They do hand it off a lot more, and James Cook has been pretty effective. So, kind of for similar reasons as Zach Moss, right? Like, he's just so relevant in that offense, and that's what I like about James Cook.
I'm laughing. I'm looking at our chat because we're live on YouTube at youtube.com/Next Fantasy Football Podcast. We got Jake, sorry to have to lose this week in the August League. We'll see about that, Dan. Anyone new here, make sure you hit the sub button, like button, share the button, all that fun buttons. Hit the you cannot, there's a little bell as well. You can hit that so you're notified when we go live, in case you miss it. Chief said, or Chef, Chef. How would you pronounce that?
Chef?
That's what I always get it. Listen, there are certain words that I just have such a hard time, and that's one of them. It's chief and chef. Chef. See?
Chef. I don't know what a chef
Guys,
is.
Guys, I'm vulnerable here. This is a safe space, all right? He says
live on YouTube.
Yeah, live on the internet. He says trying to move Madison and not sure who to target. People are instantly denying trades with him at the moment. Do you have a suggestion?
He's going to be my sit.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about that in a sec.
Yeah.
He's definitely got to move on. Try to move on from him. I think you might have to just hold on to him for a sec. Because his value is just plummeted. I really don't think it's worth trading away, right? The receiver-wise, maybe Pickens. Would that be a decent one? Maybe you could go try to get a hurt guy right now. Like Deontay Johnson would be a hurt guy that's going to come back. Running back-wise, that's tough. David Montgomery might be able to try to just switch there.
I don't know, try and get Zach Moss. That's immediate return. And, because that's kind of the similar situation. I think
you might have to just hold on to him. John says, so in other words, the Packers should be 0-3. No. And then Ryan said, would you accept Kyren Williams, T-Law, and Ayuk? Okay. For Pollard and Addison, half-point PPR. His other starting quarterback would be Daniel Jones.
So getting rid of Trevor Lawrence.
So which side Ryan, which side are you on that one, I guess is my question there. While he answers, I will go for a sit of the week, if that's all right. And I had it. I lost it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Here's my sit of the week is Cam Akers and Alexander Madison, both of them.
Well, I think Cam Akers is an easy one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just until we know what's going on in that backfield. Madison had a sneaky good game last week, which was actually surprising. It was his first good game of the year. But again, they brought in Cam Akers for a reason. I think it's going to be some type of split backfield. Cam Akers will be active, and he was inactive last week. He will be active this week.
Yep.
Best to leave him on your bench until see what happens. They're good. Madison's a good trade candidate if you can get something of value right now.
That's a hard I
think people are starting to see through it.
Yeah. Like Chef just said. I mean, that's a hard sell. That's a hard sell right now. He said he would be getting the T-Law side, so he would be getting T-Law, Kyren Williams, and Ayuk for Pollard and Addison. Thoughts?
If your other quarterback is Daniel Jones,
correct. I have mentioned how much I love Pollard. He currently has the most touches out of any running back in the NFL right now, which is I love that for fantasy football. My thought there is, Addison has been a flex play-ish, right? A low-end flex play right now. So that part really doesn't affect me very much. You'd be upgrading at quarterback. You're you in the short term at least be doing a lot better with Ayuk, who I love it right now. Yeah. And then you'd be getting Kyren Williams, who's playing pretty well, except last week he had a not so good week. You know what? I'll say it. Do it. Go for it.
All right.
And I think it has more to do with the Daniel Jones side of it. I hate that.
Daniel Jones is a top 5 quarterback right now.
Oh, God, that kills me. That's a really tough trade, actually. Now, just like...
Sometimes you got to see through it. He had a really bad week 1, and then he kind of bounced back a little bit to bring us...
Yeah, it just... For me, without seeing the roster... are you deep at running back? Are you not? Right? Like, what are your other running backs? Who are your other receivers? But are you doing it, Jordan?
Ignore that. What I just said. I had my list filtered because I was looking at QB rush yards.
Oh, okay.
So Daniel Jones, not a top 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
no.
That's bonkers.
I was filtering out rush yards. Yeah, he's quarterback 23.
Okay. Yep. Do it. Right. I'm saying go for it. But it would kill me to send Pollard. That's another thing. Hate that.
Yeah, that would sting.
That would sting. My other sit is, for me, I'm sitting all Patriot receivers. What a headache. Forever. What a headache, though. Kendrick Bourne, I guess, is their number 1 right now. And that's right? And, I was a big Juju Smith-Schuster. I thought that was going to be good. I dropped him today for the Saints defense. So, honestly, I truly believe the only guy who you could start every week and feel okay about it right now is Hunter Henry. And even he did not have the greatest week last week, but you know what that role is going to be every week. He'll have some duds, he'll have some good ones, and somewhere in the middle, he's going to finish as probably tight end 8 on the year. That's the guy to have, in my opinion. Everyone else, you're going to get booms or busts, and I don't want to deal with it because Mac Jones is not good. is my thought.
He's
there.
Elite.
He is not. If you ask Adam, he'll say he's elite, but no, thank you.
Yeah, that's because he has them in our leagues.
All right. We'll answer the last questions here. But do you have any more, Jordan?
Yeah, I have one more start and one more sit.
Oh my! Give me a sit, and then we'll talk about the Monday Night Miracle. We'll answer your questions. So drop your questions down. We'll answer them at the end.
All right. Here's my sit. Drake London.
I was almost about to say him. Yeah. You know who else isn't good? Desmond Ridder.
Desmond Ridder, yeah, sure is. I also was toying. This isn't my sit, but Garrett Wilson too, because Zach Wilson's just so bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're playing Kansas City. Could be high scoring. Something could get lucky because you gotta desperate times. But Drake London in London. Don't be fooled.
I hate that.
Don't be fooled.
Those games are not good. those morning games.
Yeah. So he's been just completely unreliable this season. He had one good game. He's caught the ball 9 total times or something like that. 8 receptions.
Ooh, nice.
The year.
Love that.
Yeah, he's currently wide receiver 58. I mean, you drafted him like he was going to be your wide receiver too, and he's just not giving you that. So he's pretty unreliable. Desmond Ridder's not great. They have other skill position guys that compete for targets. They compete for a combined 20 targets a game.
Thanks.
Desmond Ridder throws the ball so little, and 10 of them are going to the running backs no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just it's hard to be reliable until Desmond Ridder takes a step forward in his passing. He's a sit for me.
Agreed. Let's go ahead and hit the Monday Night Miracle. Let me switch the logo here. I keep pulling it up on the stream so people can see it. That graphics department looking good. So we got Tyler Lockett, a guy who is probably starting in a lot of leagues already. So, maybe we're cheating a little here. So far this year, he's been pretty volatile, right? I have stats right here. So week 1, he goes 2 receptions, 10 yards. That stinks, right? And then he goes 8 receptions, 59 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then against the Panthers, he comes back with 3 receptions, 34 yards. Not what you want, right? Not very consistent, right? We like him this week, though. Going up against the Giants, it's a bad defense, right? I think we can get a touchdown out of him. If we follow his pattern, he's due for a good game.
Yeah.
I know
how it works.
Because that's how it works, right? But, the upside's pretty big here, right? If you're able to, if he's your third receiver, I think you start him in a flex spot. So that's kind of where we're at. I'd like there. I mean, I don't know how many people have him as their third receiver, but if you do, I think he's a pretty decent flex play this week.
I agree. Yeah, the research department here at the Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast went pretty deep on this one.
Oh yeah,
and the Giants are the worst rush defense in the league, which means that play action will be hugely effective, which is actually Geno Smith's bread and butter. They play more play action plays than anyone else did last year. Was the Seattle Seahawks, and that's why I think Tyler Lockett.
Let's get a Tyler Lockett tutty this week. Feeling good about it.
I feel good. And the research department, they're in my ear actually, and they're telling me,
the producer. Yeah, Adam's producing right now. That's why he's not on the pod.
Yeah.
All right, let's answer some questions quick, and we'll finish up. John says, you guys don't forget, if Russ doesn't get 30 touchdowns and 5 rushing touchdowns, Adam has to wear a Raiders shirt on the show until I say he can stop. Looks like I'll be winning that bet as of now.
Well, I got to say, like, from a fantasy perspective, Russell Wilson is not a bad quarterback to start.
He's not. So we're just worried he's going to get benched.
Yeah, sometimes you got to look through that a little bit and say, like, you should start Russell Wilson. He's been a top tier fantasy football quarterback, even though the Broncos are just terrible.
And then the doctors. I'm not even going to attempt to say that word. The doctor's in here. He says he has Aaron Jones, Jerome Ford, Isaiah Pacheco, Javonte, and Swift at running back. Should I trade Swift for Waddle? Yes.
Yes.
Please do
trade
that.
Swift for Waddle. Do it.
Do it. Or do it right now. Swift has been really good. But let's not forget, Gainwell still had over 10 touches last week.
Yeah.
So, yes, absolutely. You rock Aaron Jones, who should be back this week. I will say Ford, he scored twice last week. He played just over 50% of the snaps. So I think Ford's a good another trade guy if you can here, because I don't really believe. I think Kareem Hunt will take that. And I think you can do worse than Pacheco and Javonte as your wide receiver or your running back too, and just kind of play the matchup. They should.
Waddle is like a 1.
Yes, a Waddle is a guy that you'll play every week. Swift is not a guy you would probably play every week.
Yeah, let's not forget that the Dolphins found a way to score 70 points without Jalen Waddle in the lineup. So, what could they do with it?
Exactly. All right, so there you go, guys. That is week 4. We're a month in. Kind of makes me sad, if I'm being honest.
Yes,
that
gotta slow down.
Really, slow down? Whoa, just take it easy, man.
Yeah.
So there, guys, if you're live on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you're listening to it later. Just pull up a new window on your phone. Go like us at the Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. It helps us out. You guys are awesome. We're live on Facebook as well. Facebook.com/Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. That's easy to find us. We're on Instagram as well. Next_step_pod. Got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Hopefully we're going to get that merch thing set up. And, I completely lost my train of thought. We're very professional. The point is, we're everywhere you can listen or see us. Like us there. Help us out. So, Jordan, unless you have something else you'd like to say.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
My top 3 foods.
Yes.
Genres, because you teed me up for that. That will be pizza and anything pizza
No,
related.
that's not a cuisine.
That would be breakfast cuisine in all forms. Any type
this is
of breakfast
such
cuisine.
cheating. Okay. You're just mentioning food groups you like.
Yeah, you just said American.
That counts.
In its entirety. No, okay. You said
okay. Anyways, what's number 1?
Italian. Nope, it's fine. It's over. All right, thanks everyone for tuning in.
All right, guys, take care. Be good.
Oh.